Okay, so last lecture, what we have done. As you can see, last lecture, you have seen throw and throws example. Java final example, what is final keyword, what is finally, and what is finalize method. Okay. Fine. So exception handling with a method overriding in Java. What is this? There are many rules. If we talk about method overriding with exception handling, the rules are as follows. If the superclass method does not declare an exception, so superclass method, if it doesn't declare an exception, subclass overridden method cannot declare the check exception, but it can declare uncheck exception. Okay. Now here, if the superclass method declares an exception, if superclass method declares an exception, subclass overridden method can declare same. Subclass exception or no exception, but cannot declare parent exception. Okay. Now let's see the rule number 1 with example. A superclass method does not declare an exception. Superclass method which does not declare exception. Subclass overridden method cannot declare the check exception. So superclass method does not declare any exception. Now you see superclass method, I mean parent class, and its method message. It's not declaring any exception. Now subclass method, which is extending the superclass, and the same message method, but we are overriding this message method. And now this method cannot declare check exceptions. Okay. Now what it has done, it tried to throw IO exception, which is check exceptions. Okay. So it will give you compile time error. It will give you compile time error. Okay. And rule number 2, if the superclass method does not declare an exception, subclass overridden method cannot declare check exception, but can declare uncheck exception. Now you see superclass, its method message, this test exception child1 extends parent message. Again, we are overriding this message. Now it can throw arithmetic exception. This is uncheck exceptions. Okay. And yeah, if any exception will be there, we'll get those answers. If the superclass method declares an exception, if the superclass method declares an exception, subclass overridden method can declare same. Subclass exception or no exception, but cannot declare parent exception. Superclass, this is the method, it throws an arithmetic exception. Okay. So subclass method, so subclass method, this test exception child2, okay, it cannot declare the same exception, this arithmetic exception. It must declare the different exception. Okay. Okay, so same subclass overridden method declares same exception. So void message throws exception, void message throws exception, same exception will have child. Okay. So subclass overridden method declares subclass exception. Subclass overridden exception declares subclass exception. Subclass overridden method declares no exception. Okay, I think this method is self-explanatory anyway. So parent method, class message method, subclass here, and subclass overridden method here, and there are no exceptions, but only parent have exceptions. Okay, now what happens? It will give us the output. Okay, so these things are allowed, these things are not allowed. It says now last topic, which is custom exceptions. So we are here to create our own exception. We are here to create our own exception. That is known as a custom exception. Okay, a user defined exception. What is custom exception? So invalid age exception, this class extends exception. See, public static void main will start from here. Try, validate, and catch. Validate 13. So we are passing some numbers here, 13. It goes here 13. How we are able to call this validate method directly? Because it's static. We declare it as a static. Now the 13 is less than 18. The 13 number is less than 18, right? So at that point we are throw some exception, that is invalid age exception. That is our own exception. That is our own exception, and in bracket we are writing not valid. Else, if age is not less than 18, then system.print will say welcome to vote. Now here the thing is, you see, the question is, sir, where it is declared? So it's declared here, invalid age exception here, invalid age exception constructor. We are calling this constructor. Okay, and actually that constructor is a part of the class invalid age exception. And it calls super method here. It calls super method. Super of what? Super of parent constructor. What is the parent constructor of this invalid age exception? That is this exception. This exception is a parent constructor. This class constructor will be called. This class parent constructor will be called super S. Okay. And then we have a not valid. It's written like this. This is the example of custom exception, right? So once again, custom exception, what are the steps? The class we need to define with custom exception, whatever name we want to give. It needs to extend the exception, then constructor, then super S. Next step, any method which you think that it may throw some exception. So throw the invalid age exception. And under that condition, we need to write down throw new invalid age exception. Okay. And in bracket, you need to write down not valid. So this is the example of custom exception, right? And whenever you want to throw, we can throw this kind of custom exception. Okay. Fine. So this was about exception handling. We have covered exception handling. Let's check the syllabus. You see exception handling. Extra class and interface we have done. Now, yeah. Now it says in exception handling and IO, you see input output. This is again entire new chapter actually, input output is. Okay, but they have put in this one chapter only. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll start the last chapter, that is multi-threading, that is concurrency. Okay, we'll start with this last chapter. I will complete that chapter and then we'll see again input output so that we can complete this 6th number chapter. Okay. This Java FX chapter we'll keep at last, and meanwhile we'll complete this 9, 10, 11 chapter. Okay. Fine. So let's begin with our new chapter, that is multi-threading. Okay, so multi-threading in Java, what is the multi-threading? It's a process of executing multiple threads simultaneously. Multiple threads simultaneously. Okay, thread means what? It's a process. Okay, but thread is known as a part of process. Thread is again known as a part of process. Okay. So if that is part of process, we can say it's a sub-process. The thread is a lightweight sub-process. Okay, it's a lightweight sub-process. The smallest unit of processing. Multiprocessing and multi-threading both are used to achieve multitasking. Okay. However, we use multi-threading than multiprocessing because threads use a shared memory area. They don't allocate separate memory area, so saves memory. Okay. So multi-threading than multiprocessing because why? Threads use a shared memory area. Okay. They don't allocate separate memory area, so saves memory. And context switching between the threads takes less time than process. So if we want to shift from one thread to another, it's known as a context switching between threads. It takes less time. So multi-threading is mostly used in games, animation, etc. Okay. So what are the advantages of Java multi-threading? So advantage of Java multi-threading, that is, it doesn't block the user because threads are independent and you can perform multiple operations at the same time. Okay. So thread, it won't block anything. You can perform many operations together. It saves time. Threads are independent. Okay. It doesn't affect other threads if an exception occurs in a single thread. So multitasking is what? Multitasking is a process of executing multiple tasks simultaneously. We use multitasking to utilize the CPU. Multitasking can be achieved in 2 ways. So multitasking, actually it's in operating system also, you are studying this. What is multitasking? So simultaneously, if you want to process two things known as a multitasking. So multitasking can be achieved using 2 ways: process based, second one is thread based. Okay, process based, and second one is thread based. Okay, what is process based? I also know as a multiprocessing, and thread based means multi-threading. So process based means what? Each process has an address in memory. So whatever you take a process, it contains address in memory. Each process allocates a separate memory area. Okay, each process allocates a separate memory area. Process is a heavyweight. Process, actually it's a heavyweight. Cost of communication between the process is high. Cost of communication between processes is high. Switching from one process to another requires some time for saving and loading registers, memory maps, updating lists, etc. Anyway, this is about process-based multitasking. Next one is thread-based multitasking. The thread shares the same address space. Thread is lightweight. Cost of communication between thread is low. So what is the advantage of threads? They share the same address space. Threads are lightweight, and cost of communication between the thread is very low. Okay, just hold on 1 minute. Yes, Armanali, clonable interface is a very the topic you need to do by yourself. This and yet to see this. This is last topic. It's on self-study. Okay, and don't expect each and everything to do spoon feeding. If I do each and everything spoon feeding, what will you do from your side? Okay. So that last topic is on self-study, but still you see, uh, the last topic that we have some defined custom exception, file class and input output, reading data from web. This lines are still pending. We'll do that later on. But this last topic you are telling about this is on self-study. I was about to tell you like later on, but I'm telling you, you learn it by yourself. Okay. So for each and every chapter, the last topic I may give you on self-study. Okay. Fine. So yes, multi-threading is what they share the same address space. They are lightweight. So one process is required for each thread. So one process it requires for each thread. So you understand this in this diagram. Actually, there are three processes. So one process has 3 threads, second process has 2 threads, third process has 1 thread. So each process can have multiple threads. Are you getting this scenario, everyone? One process can have multiple threads. Another process can have 2 threads. Third process can have only 1 thread. Okay. So it is possible that one process have multiple threads. So what is thread in Java actually? It's a lightweight sub-process, smallest unit of processing. It is separate path of execution. Threads are independent. If there occurs exception in one thread, it doesn't affect other thread. It uses shared memory area. So a thread executes inside the process. Thread executes inside the process. There is a context switching between the threads. There can be multiple processes inside the OS, and one process can have multiple threads. It's written here. One process can have multiple threads. Yes, but not at a time one thread is executed only. So processor is only one in our computer CPU. Processor we have only one. At a time only one thread will be executed, not all the threads, right? So thread class, Java thread class. Actually, this is the main class. Java thread class is the main class. Okay. So Java provides thread class to achieve thread programming. Thread class provides constructor and methods to create and perform operations on a thread. Thread class extends object class and implements runnable interface. The thread class provides constructors and methods to create and perform operations on thread. Thread class extends object class and implements runnable interface. Okay. So this is the thread class. Don't worry, once we'll see the practicals, we'll come to know. These are the methods: start, run, sleep, current thread, join. We'll see all these methods slowly. There are lot many methods. Okay, first see the life cycle of thread. So thread can be in one of the 5 states. So according to Sun, that is Sun Microsystem, those people, those who have developed this multi-threading, there is only 4 states in thread life cycle: new, runnable, not runnable, and terminate. This is this: new, runnable, non-runnable, and terminate. Okay, there is no running state. Okay, but for better understanding the thread, we are explaining this to 5 states. Okay. So new, these are the state: new, runnable, running, non-runnable, terminated. New, runnable, running, terminated. So new state here, new state, whenever we start some threading, it goes to, it starts some thread, it goes to the runnable state. And from runnable, whenever our scheduler picks that thread to execute in a processor, listen carefully. Our scheduler, whenever a scheduler, so we are not learning that much about scheduler, but we'll try to understand the concept. The scheduler means what? It will put that thread in a processor, okay, for execution purpose. Now, from runnable state to running state, whenever our threads is executing in a processor, that comes in a running state, and after that termination, okay, terminated method. But whenever thread is executing, sleep, block, suspend, wait, this kind of method we can call. That means we can stop that execution of the thread. It goes into non-runnable, and then again it comes to runnable. From non-runnable to runnable. Okay, this is a life cycle: new, runnable, running, terminated, and from running, we can call some methods to stop the thread for executing. It comes in a non-runnable, and it goes into again runnable state. From runnable, we can again call it to running state. So these are the states. New, thread is a new state. That means what? We can create instance of thread class, but before the invocation of start method. So before the start method, anything we are declaring that comes in a new state. We'll see that. Runnable means what? Thread is in runnable state after invocation of start method, but the thread scheduler has not selected it to be running thread. Running means what? The thread is in running state if the thread scheduler has selected it. Non-runnable means what? Block. This is a state where the thread is still alive, but is currently not eligible to run. Terminated. Anyway, let's see the directly example. Okay, how to create thread. Okay, yeah. Before seeing example, before seeing this 5 step, let's see how to create thread. 2 ways to create thread: extending thread class, implementing runnable interface. How do we extend thread class? Thread class provides constructor and method to create and perform operations on thread. Thread class extends object class and implements runnable interface. Okay, we'll see again 2 methods here. So these are the constructors: thread string name, runnable string name. Okay, I think the ID is not running. Let me start ID. Okay, commonly used method for thread class. These are the commonly used methods. Okay, so as I told you here, there are 2 ways we can create a thread. One is extending thread class. Second one is implementing runnable interface. Second method is implementing runnable interface. Runnable interface should be implemented by any class whose instance are intended to be executed by thread. Okay. I think if it's launched, we can start. And how do we start a thread? Using start method. Using start method, we can start a newly created thread. Perform following task: a new method starts, thread moves from new state to runnable state, and the thread gets a chance to execute targets run method will run. Anyway, we'll see directly the example so that we can understand. We'll wait a little bit. It should not take this much amount of time. Okay. Okay, so here, let me remove these quotes. Okay, now you see there are 2 ways we can thread. Be careful, this is very important thing, very important chapter. Now even in GTU syllabus, if you see, it's darken lines are here. Okay, because a very important chapter, and that is last chapter. Actually, it should be the after exception. It should be this chapter. Anyway, so what we can do? For first of all, public class, new class. Okay, and then first way is to extending thread class. Extending extends threads. Thread class, sorry. Extending thread class. Okay, now next step is what? Next step is to create run method. Public void run. System.out.println inside a run method. Okay, let me write thread 1. Okay, now you might be asking, or there might be a question, how do I execute this run method? Simple way, create an object and to call this method? No, in multi-threading it's not that way. Now you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to make one object of new nc is equal to new class. Okay, next step is very simple. nc dot, if I do, you see run method is there. No, if I call this run method, it will be a simple programming. No, it's not like that. We are here to call multi-threading. So for that, we need to call the start method. That's it. Okay, that means what? So before this start method, if execution comes here, okay, now you see this step by step. Execution, where it comes, execution comes here. Okay, execution comes here. Now, this class, it makes an object of MC. Now it observes this class. This class is extending thread class. Thread class means what? It extending thread class. That means whenever we create object, it becomes our one single thread. So if I create one more object, it becomes our second thread. This is my second thread. NC2 is my second thread. This is first thread, second thread. Okay. Override. Why override? Because run method is already there, declared in thread class. We are implementing here again. That's why override keyword is here. Okay. Now with this one thread, we are calling start method. Start method is what? Let me close this. So start method. What is start method? Starts the execution of thread. Starts execution of thread. What is run method? Is used to perform action for a thread. So for this NC1 thread, we have defined one action, that is thread 1. You print thread 1. For NC2 again, run method, this is thread 2. Okay. And JVM calls the run method on the thread. Okay. So now you see new state. Before the start method, you see before the start method, whatever thread you are making, it comes in a new state. Runnable means what? Whenever we call the start method, the thread becomes in runnable state. But our thread scheduler we are not going to study, but scheduler means what? It's internal process, which means the thread goes to our processor finally for execution. So till that time, that thread is known as a runnable, and whenever a thread goes to this a processor, it goes in a running state. Okay, and while running the thread, if we block or anyhow we are not able to assign some values, it comes in non-runnable state, and then termination. Okay, then thread, and these are constructors. String name, runnable are anyway, we'll see. Okay, now let's see the output, what it should print, because start means what? So you see, as I told you, in a multi-threading, if you are extending thread, and if I call directly this run here, nc.run, it will be our simple programming. Okay, from this object, we are calling the run method. It won't make any difference. But here nc means what? We have created one thread, and that means entirely different stack. It creates entirely different stack. Anyway, let me run this. Okay, you see the third one? Simple answer, simple way. Okay, we have seen just a basic thing. Where is that? Okay, here. Second way, using a runnable interface. Using a runnable interface. How? You see, first way is to extend thread. Second one is implementing runnable interface. So for runnable interface, this method will remain as it is, but the way we execute, it's a different way. And here, for runnable interface, we need to create thread class here. Thread T1 is equal to new thread NC. And T1 dot start. This is another way we can execute multiple threading, multi-threading. Okay. So one thread we have defined here. This is the implement runnable state. This is another way we can invoke the thread. And we cannot directly call nc.start, but we have to put this object into this thread class here and t1.start. Let's see, do we have method like that? Yeah, you see thread runnable R. Okay. So there are two ways: extending thread class, implementing runnable interface. Okay, let's first see the output, then we'll read all these things. Thread 1. Okay. So thread class provides constructors and method to create and perform operations on thread. Thread class extends object class and implements runnable interface. Anyway, what about runnable? Yeah, runnable interface should be implemented by any class whose instances are intended to be executed by thread. Now, most of the time this runnable interface is easier way to implement multi-threading. Why? Because you can implement runnable interface at any class whenever you want to put multi-threading in any class. Let's say you want to implement multi-threading in this new class. Okay, there are 5 to 6 classes here. You want to put multi-threading in this new class. So at that time, you can implement runnable. Okay. A runnable interface have only one method named run. Now this runnable interface have only one method. Interface means what? That run method is already defined there. We have implemented here. Okay. Now what is the start method? Start method of thread. You see the start method. Start method of thread class is used to start a newly created thread. It performs following tasks. A new thread starts. From here, whenever we call the start method, whenever we execute the start method, a new thread starts. Thread moves from new state to runnable state. Whenever you call the start, it moves from new to runnable state. When the thread gets a chance to execute, it targets run method will run. When a thread gets chance to execute, it targets run method will run. So whenever thread gets executed, it targets this run method and it will run this method and we can see the output. So there are two ways we can implement. Now you see, if you are not extending the thread class, your class object would not be treated as a thread object. So you need to explicitly create thread class object. So you see, in the previous method here, if we are not extending thread class here, this class, okay, your class object would not be treated as a thread object. So class object we are creating here, it won't treat as a thread object. So you need to explicitly create thread class object where passing the object of your class that implements runnable so that your class run method may execute. We are passing the object of your class that implements runnable so that our run method may execute. Okay. Fine. So this was about threading. I hope you understood this threading. We have just started and we have started with two methods. What are the two methods? Once again, how do we execute thread with two methods? Extending a thread class, implementing runnable interface. Extending a thread class, implementing runnable interface. Okay. Thread class and runnable interface. Two ways we can implement thread. Now, whatever the other methods are there, we'll see in a next class. Okay, everyone? Fine. So everyone write down number in chat box to conclude our session. Yes, Udit, thank you. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Arman Ali. Yes, Pankaj, thank you. Fine, let me stop sharing and let me stop recording also. I hope everyone is with the number in chat box. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet in next lecture.
हेलो सर। हेलो। हेलो सर। हेलो।